In today's show, more withdrawals from the national dialogue, SOE CEO salaries in the spotlight, prices vanish 2.5 billion rand, Trump to meet with Putin, and the Springboks gear up for Saturday's Rugby Championship against the Wallabies at Ellis Park, Johannesburg, South Africa. It's Thursday, the 14th of August. This is your BizNews Briefing. I'm Bronwyn Nielsen. Big paychecks, big controversies. Some CEOs at South Africa's state-owned enterprises are earning millions, even while their organizations are struggling to stay afloat. According to reports, SOE bosses are pulling in anywhere from 6 million rand to 15.5 million a year. Transnet CEO earns 8.5 million, Prasa's 7.8 million, and the Road Accident Fund CEO takes home 7.1 million rand. The Development Bank of South Africa does top the list at that 15.5 million. Critics are asking, how can these salaries be justified when these entities are bleeding cash or they are relying on government bailouts? Transnet, for example, got a 47 billion rand bailout in 2023, yet its CEO still earns millions. SOE boards set the salaries, but there's little transparency around how performance is measured. High pay, low performance. It's a debate that's not going away anytime soon, especially as taxpayers are funding these lofty salaries. Here's Deputy DA spokesperson on Public Service and Administration, Leah Potgieter.
There's no clear information on the state-owned entities. There's no standardized, framework that they operate from in determining how these executives are paid. And I wanted to basically understand it before I started, delving into it. And actually, it's quite interesting you mentioned the DBSA. That's actually a 50% increase on their salary from the last financial year. The previous salary of the DBSA CEO was 10.5 million, and it got a lovely 47% increase.
Staying with state-owned entities and that Prasa CEO's salary of 7.8 million rand, the DA has exposed the shocking state of Prasa's 2.5 billion rand refurbishment scandal, with trains abandoned and tracks left to rot. This while taxpayers pay for upgrades that never actually reach the commuters. Prasa faces zero consequences in what looks like another cadre enrichment program.
What you are looking at is Prasa's grey and yellow fleet, where Prasa to date has spent 2.5 billion rand refurbishing these trains, only for them to be parked and be sitting here gathering dust, decaying and being useless. But the big question is, what happened to the 2.5 billion rand?
While you are still waiting, yes, it's fine. While you still waiting.
We've just been denied access to go inside. But what we're seeing here, we're seeing a lot of decay. The infrastructure that Prasa is actually looking after is decaying, deteriorating, is literally rotting away while we are here in Braamfontein. Yet, they are refusing members of parliament who serve on the Portfolio Committee on Transport, where Prasa actually reports to, for us to gain access and do our oversight. They've just refurbished those trains just to park them. They're doing absolutely nothing about them. 2.5 billion rands down the drain.
Let's jump into another of today's big stories. Another political party is stepping away from the national dialogue. Action SA has decided not to take part in the two-day national convention kicking off this Friday in Pretoria. Their parliamentary leader, Athol Trollip, says there are just too many unanswered concerns from different groups involved. But they're not completely out of the picture. Action SA will still send 2 members of parliament to keep an eye on how public money is being spent during the event. This move follows similar decisions by the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, who've already pulled out. So it does look as though the convention might be going ahead, but it's missing a number of key voices.
Foundations that were an integral part of the planning of this national dialogue. And the issues that we are most concerned about are lack of independence, overbearing attitude of the presidency taking over this national dialogue, which has driven some of the main legacy foundations away, and also the budget issue. We don't know where the budget's coming from. We don't know where the appropriation has been made. I learned today on social media that 25 million rand had been deposited into the NEDLAC account from the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation. Now, I'm a member of that portfolio committee, and I have absolutely no knowledge of that decision. We don't know where that money is coming from, what the opportunity cost is going to be for that department to offset that 25 million rand. I've also heard other price tags of 42 million rand for the weekend's work. Now, if only 25 million has been deposited into the NEDLAC account, what's happened to the other 17 million rand?
Like a soapy breakup scene, selling your car can be an emotional experience.
Just how dramatic was the car selling experience?
Not dramatic at all. I did my research and We Buy Cars was by far the best price.
Very not dramatic. But I like drama.
I was standing there watching my phone, waiting for the money to get in, and there it was.
Yes. Car, driving.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car, by far.
I wouldn't mind a little more drama. Anybody bring me some tears?
That's life. That's what all the people say. That's life. You're riding high.
US President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin are set to have an historic summit in Alaska where they will try to make progress on ending the war in Ukraine. Anne-Marie Horden reports on what's at stake.
A high-stakes meeting between President Trump and President Putin is set to unfold in Anchorage, Alaska. It's Trump's first face-to-face with Putin since his return to the White House. It's been 10 years since Putin set foot on U.S. soil and marks the first leader-to-leader summit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Friday's meeting is a gamble for Trump, though, as he tries to broker a peace agreement. Initially, the president said there may be, quote, some changes in territory after Russia's invasion and occupation. But earlier this week, he sought to downplay expectations.
This is really a feel-out meeting, a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing.
Putin is demanding Ukraine give up the Donetsk and Luhansk regions as a condition to push for a ceasefire and enter negotiations. But there's a crucial figure missing in Anchorage, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who's ruled out Putin's territorial bid. Anne-Marie Horden, Bloomberg News.
Staying with Trump-Putin meeting, the ambassador to Poland, Daniel Fried, says President Trump needs to stare down Putin in the meeting. He was speaking to Bloomberg, and he said Trump has a chance to turn the meeting to his advantage, but only if he is firm. He warned that Putin will try to dominate the narrative and that the US must push back hard. He also said President Trump needs to show strength from the beginning. If he lets Putin set the tone, it could be a missed opportunity for American leverage. Fried also touched on the possibility of secondary sanctions against Russia, saying they could be a powerful tool if used strategically. The summit is expected to focus on Ukraine, sanctions, and global security.
In your years of experience, have you ever heard of anything like this?
Well, I've seen a lot of presidential meetings with Russian and Soviet counterparts. That's not the trouble. The trouble is it's not clear that Putin is taking any peace in Ukraine seriously except on his own terms, Ukrainian surrender. So President Trump has got a problem. He offered the meeting thinking that Putin was ready to deal because his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, thought he heard that from Putin. He didn't. Either Witkoff misheard or more likely Putin was jerking him around. But now what? President Trump could get a win in his meeting with Putin, but to do it, he's going to have to stare down Putin. It's pretty predictable that Putin is going to come in with deflections, shiny objects, long speeches, but he's not going to deal seriously on peace for Ukraine unless Trump makes it clear he has to. President Trump has cards. We can put more pressure on Russia. Their economy is not in great shape. We can make clear that we're going to help Ukraine acquire weapons. Lots of ways to do that without the American taxpayer footing all the bill. But what I'm saying is President Trump is going to have to stare down Putin.
Yeah, that's
or else Putin just plays rope-a-dope, spins, goes out, grins and smirks at a press conference. And what was the meeting for?
Well, you've been in the room with Vladimir Putin.
I have.
You know the style of this man. I'm curious, will there be a bilateral news conference after? Or do we see Donald Trump walk out alone? And what happens if Vladimir Putin stares down Donald Trump? He's got the KGB stare coming to Alaska.
Putin can be charming when he wants to be. He can bristle with hostility when he wants to be. And my guess, he's going to start out being charming and try to throw something on the table that looks shiny and appealing but is useless.
Like an air truce.
Something, to try to deflect President Trump. Now, I think the administration understands what it takes to end the war on reasonable terms, which it's not hard to figure this one out. A ceasefire mostly in place and security for Ukraine. You get those two things and you don't have a just peace. It won't be just as long as Ukraine is occupied. But you could have a lasting peace, a sustainable peace.
Okay.
That's good enough. But to get there, President Trump is going to have to show who's boss.
Well, he's saying severe consequences if nothing comes from this out of one side of his mouth. Then he says this is a feeling out conversation. We just want to get to the second meeting.
Yeah, they're trying to lower expectations, which is what I would do in their place.
Okay.
I get it. But President Trump, ever since he took office this time, has tiptoed up to the line of bringing down serious pressure on Russia, and then he's always backed away.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that the Federal Reserve could be heading into a series of rate cuts, beginning with a 50-point cut in September. Bessent believes the rate should probably be 150 to 175 basis points lower. Our Bloomberg colleagues have more on the story.
Wall Street might do even better if the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates. The president was pretty clear yesterday, put out this comment: Jerome Too Late Powell must now lower the interest rate. Is it reasonable to give them a bit more time to draw conclusions about what's happening here?
Well, I think what we could see is that, first of all, what if the BLS data had been the higher quality and we'd had those numbers, Jonathan? So if we'd seen those numbers in May, in June, I suspect we could have had rate cuts in June and July. So that tells me that there's a very good chance of a 50 basis point rate cut. And I think President Trump is very good at giving these nicknames. And I think the reason that the Jay Powell gets the nickname Too Late is because he wants to go into a series of rate hikes. He's not willing. He's not Alan Greenspan, who was very forward thinking. They try to be more data driven, which I think is a mistake, because I think we are going back into an economy like we had in the 90s. So, it's just very old fashioned thinking. But I do think we could go into a series of rate cuts here, starting with a 50 basis point rate cut in September.
A 50 basis rate cut in September, does that signal that the economy, though, is not doing well?
That signals that there's an adjustment and the rates are too constrictive. If you look at any model, that we should probably be 150, 175 basis points lower. So I think the committee needs to step back. I think probably one of the most politicized governors just went off the board, and that she was very, very political, I believe. And I think that
what did she do that gave you that impression? I'd love to know.
Sorry?
I imagine you're referring to Governor Kugler. What did she do that gave you that impression?
I think there's a lot of inside baseball. And look, Governor Kugler, you read what she was saying when Kamala Harris was running, that we needed rate cuts, we needed this, we got to foam the runway. And then all of a sudden, it was hard to know whether, TDS was a Trump dementia syndrome, or Trump derangement syndrome, or tariff derangement syndrome.
Right now, you can get the cheapest Forex rate around, right here, on Shift. Pay less for your dollars, pounds, and euros here, and get to shop more here, and do more here, and enjoy more ooh la la here. Shift also lets you trade and transfer currencies, and buy shares in the world's best companies. It all happens right here on Shift. You won't find a cheaper Forex rate anywhere else, no matter where you bank. Download the Shift app today.
At Sun Exchange, we make going solar simple, profitable, and completely risk-free. Join over 100 satisfied South African customers already enjoying the benefits of risk-free solar. Start saving today. Visit sunexchange.com and join the solar revolution.
Apple is plotting its artificial intelligence comeback with an ambitious slate of new devices, including robots, a lifelike version of Siri, and a smart speaker with a display and home security cameras. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman speaks with Romain Bostic and Matt Miller on the close about Apple's next inventions.
Robots, that's Apple's next big initiative. It's something they started working on as part of the self-driving car project many years ago. And if you think about it, a self-driving car is really a robot. It's something that moves, it has wheels, it has sensors to understand the environment it is roaming in. And if you think about it, a home robot is a much smaller scale, much safer, less regulated self-driving car. And so their first robotic product is going to be an iPad on a moving arm. And so this iPad on that arm can be on your desk, can be on your kitchen counter, can be in your living room. And as you walk around a room, it can follow you. You can also use your iPhone touchscreen as a joystick to move the camera on the display around to follow you if you're on a FaceTime call. It could also summon you, or if you're talking, it can move to look at you. And so it's an in-space tabletop robot. They're also working on a manufacturing robot and a robotic arm that can be used for manipulating inventory in the back of Apple retail stores, but that's several years away. They've also explored mobile robots with wheels that can roam through your house. And the other thing that they've loosely discussed are humanoids, which obviously Elon Musk and other companies are actively working on.
So I am curious about this idea of how far away they are from this. I think your story mentioned the robot maybe 2027, but you mentioned the Apple car, Mark. I think every time you come on this program, I used to ask when that's coming out. Is this one of those products and initiatives that we'll hear a lot about, but we'll never actually see that product in an Apple store?
No, this is going to come to market in all likelihood. The stakes are much smaller scale than the car. The economics are much different than the car. The operational know-how, the amount of people that need to be involved in this. I mean, building a car is a 10, 15-year effort that changes the whole course of history for a company. And they had a clear move forward or not moment a couple of years ago and decided not to move forward after burning all that capital. Robotics in the home, robotics in manufacturing, this is where AI in the industry is going. It's not an apples to apples comparison at all, I think.
And I'm just curious about the manufacturing side of making these things here. Did they articulate or did you get any sort of sense in your reporting of where these things will be made, what that kind of supply chain will look like? Is this going to be something homegrown here in America?
I mean, Apple doesn't make products in America, despite what the company wants you to believe, what Donald Trump wants us to believe. Apple makes its products in Asia, right? They source some components in the United States. They design their products in the United States. They do their R&D in the United States. Apple products are built in Asia, and that's not changing anytime soon.
And Springboks centre Jesse Creel is unfazed by claims that Australia have better preparation for the Rugby Championship opener at Ellis Park. With 4 strong wins under their belt, Creel's confident in the Boks' work ethic. He shares his thoughts on the Wallabies, the Bok mindset, and his anticipation for Saturday's clash in Johannesburg.
I believe we've worked hard. I think everyone's obviously got their opinions on battle hard and not, but I think it's a way you pitch up every day to training, the way you pitch up with the mindset to whatever you approach throughout your week. And I think for us, again, it's a good opportunity for us to represent South Africa, and I don't think anyone takes it lightly in this environment. So yeah, very excited for the challenge and yeah, confident that we'll be up for it.
That brings us to the end of this BizNews briefing. We'll be back on Monday with more context on the local and global front. Enjoy Saturday's rugby game.